Good evening, or good morning, or good night, or whatever time of day it is, wherever you are. And welcome to the latest episode of The Love Shack with myself, Alan the Love Engineer. I'm a love engineer, relationship coach, published author, and NLP practitioner. And I've got with me the usual suspects of The Love Shack. We have Mitra, Andrea, and Nisanka, who will be coming in any moment now to introduce themselves and say a little bit more about. Hello, Mitra. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, so good to be here. So I'm Mitra. I'm a meditation teacher and founder of an online meditation platform called mindfully.space. People can subscribe it. It's free to try for 7 days. And it's so good to be here.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Nisanka, you're up.
Hello, everyone. I'm Nasanka. I am a conscious parent coach. Anything to do with parenting, just reach out to me. You can find me on www.coachingwithnisanka.com, spelled Nisanka. Thank you.
Beautiful. And last but finally not least, we have Andrea. Would you like to introduce yourself, Andrea?
Hello, I am Goddess Andrea. I am a Tantra practitioner and a sex educator, and my goal in life is just to create divine human connection through touch, sex, and sensuality.
Beautiful. So today's subject is a bit of a hot discussion, naked communications. Now, this is a topic that was picked by Andrea, and I have a sneaking suspicion that there may be a little more to it than just getting your kit off and having a chat. So I'm going to let Andrea share a little bit more about the topic and why she picked it.
Well, one thing that I notice when I work with the couples that I've seen is the biggest issue is communication. Bottom line, doesn't matter what's going on, there's a communication issue. So what I find is we are closed when we start, and we start to talk about the things like the elephants under the rug, the things they don't want to talk about. And then we get naked. And then we get to really expose ourselves. And I do a thing called soul gazing. And so it's where you share your soul with another human. And then we create the connection, and then we have this ability to suddenly talk. And I've noticed that forgiveness happens. And the more that my clients do soul gazing naked, and even myself, and in the bedroom getting ready, all of a sudden you're talking about those things that are hard to talk about, but you're naked doing it because it reminds you of that peace, calm, full, a place that can be forgiven. There's like exposing yourself, being completely bare, and being able to say what you feel, what you need, what you want, and having your partner do that. When it comes to like sex, it's like how many people just lay there and tolerate what their husband or wife is doing and they don't even like it. Well, this requires communication to get through it. So instead of laying there tolerating it, like, hey, do you think you could move a little to the left or up a little bit? Or can you not bite so hard? You know, there's lots of different ways to say it, but how many people don't say it? And when you can't say it in the bedroom, I find you can't say it in life.
Yeah. The old bare naked truth, as they say.
Yeah. And that's why I chose it. It's a huge thing that comes up a lot, because after my clients go home and they start practicing and doing this stuff, they write me back and say, oh my God, we are talking about everything that we never talked about before. So it's really cool how getting naked and talking opens up a world of communication when you are wearing clothes.
And I wonder how much of this actually goes back to the way we are taught to communicate in childhood, and how what was our truth as children gets received and responded to, that creates how we share our truth as adults.
Absolutely. There's a play on that. Nisanka, what do you think of this one?
Good question. Thank you, Alan, and thank you, Andrea, for that amazing tips and opening line to naked communication. So, children, as you know, don't have a problem communicating until we tell them that it is not appropriate, and or they're not doing it well, or they're not doing it right, or they're not doing it our way. So children know as they're equipped, they're equipped when they're born to communicate. And communication, so here's one thing that an activity for anybody that you that's watching and listening to us can do. As soon as we say the word communication, what comes to your mind? What comes to the mind is the verbal communication or the written communication or what we're hearing. But communication has so many components. It's our body language. It's it's the tone of voice, and it's the silence communication as well, because the silence can speak volumes. It speaks thousands of words. Silence communication is a combination of all of this, and children are actually so honest with their communication. They're open with it, and of course they don't have the language when they are born, but they learn it throughout as they grow up. But they do know through their cries, through a wiggle, through their babbling or gestures. They just do know how to communicate. But what do we do as adults? Because we are so conditioned, we have a belief system, we understand or interpret their communication within the parameters of what we believe and what we know and what we're conditioned. And and then we tell the children through our behavior management, this is how you should do it. So we change who they are before they even had a chance to evolve as their authentic selves. And authenticity is one of the most crucial things in life. You have no authenticity, that there is no success. No, there's no happiness or joy in life if there's no authenticity. So, wrong communication or lack thereof, or miscommunication, actually leads us to losing our authenticity.
Absolutely. Is there anything you'd like to add to that, Mitra?
I must say, what a brilliant subject and topic. And thanks to Goddess Andrea to pick this up. I don't know if people wonder why nobody's born with a Versace suit on or Gucci gown on. We are born naked. And, as Alan, you were saying, the naked truth. Is the truth naked? Or
Yeah.
being naked is truth? If you see because we cover it, we are covering everything. If you take it to level up to spirituality, the only honest conversation can happen is with ourselves, which is the naked conversation when you are not talking to anybody else. How much ever we try, we cannot lie to ourselves. And when you bring, a partner, whether or you are communicating either to self, to the partner, and in any circumstances, if you took the layers out, we call it the subtle layers, the onion peeling, and if it comes in the respect of partner or in the house or in love or in relationship, you can slowly start to respect what is in front if it is coming from that truth, rather than expecting the person in front of you should be something else or covered up. So I think it's just beautiful. I just don't know why we were not born with clothes on. So yeah.
Can you imagine the hassle the baby would take it would take to get the baby out with clothes on and clean. As I believe, or at least I've been told many times, it's challenging enough with a naked baby, let alone a clothed baby with a zip that's going to catch on the way out.
I was just going to say, I am pushing any babies with a zipper on.
Let alone buttons.
Atlanta. That would suck. I'll take naked. I'll take naked. And I find that when we're naked too, it's just it's like being exposed, and people don't like to be exposed. Even with clothes on, they don't like to be exposed. If you're having a conversation and someone exposes something about you that you didn't want them to know, you feel violated or you feel like betrayed or whatever. We should really whenever anyone is having an argument or something, I always tell them just imagine each other naked, and then all of a sudden they get giggly. It can just change the mood or change the instantly. If it's like people say do the pause, I just say imagine them naked, because then
it's trying to depend a little bit on who you're communicating with.
Well, yeah, true, but still, it doesn't matter who. Bodies are bodies. They all like to have the same things. It doesn't matter what I do. I know every body, every size of body, every gender of body likes touch in some way, shape, or form. And all humans like to be heard. They like to be able to share what they want, what they need, and what they desire. And if you don't know what you want, need, or desire, then that's where, the tantric meditation journey comes in, so you can learn your body. If you're okay with your body, and they're just bodies. We judge ourselves because of our body shape or size or whatever. I've worked with some really large men and really small men and women, and getting them to love their body, then you're able to just love more. I think we all know that when you love yourself, you can share that love and be that love, and you no longer have judgment or expectation. And I think that's it. When we're naked, people have huge expectations. Oh God, we have to have sex. Oh God, what am I supposed to do with that body? I just don't know what to do.
It doesn't look the way I want it to.
Yeah, right. So what do you do in that situation?
Well, you have two options, really. Only really have three options. One, change the parts of your body that you can. But then my observation of people who've done that, there's still parts of the body that they don't love, that they can't change. You can learn to love your body, which starts with accepting it as it is. So if you don't accept it and love it as it is, it doesn't matter how you change it, you're still not going to love it. Or, I don't know what the other one was. It can't be that important. It's gone.
Yeah, our bodies, right? We can't, it's not like clothing. We can just be go into a store and be like, oh, I don't like this body anymore. I'd like that one instead. We can shift and change whatever we want, but it is an acceptance of self. And I find confidence grows when you can talk naked. If you can be naked and have a solid conversation with your partner, or even if you're down with it, friends or whatever. I love the nudist community, right? But it seems like that community, everybody's really open about whatever's going on with them. There's nothing hidden, and there's no judgment and no expectation. We're not getting together to get naked to have an orgy or sex. There's nothing sexual about it at all. We just like being naked, hanging out on a beach. So why not? But that is a small group of people. And then there's the groups of people that want to, but are too shy, too self-critical. Oh, I could never be naked in front of anyone, I don't know. How do you feel about nudist colonies?
More we feel insecure about ourselves, more we are made to feel insecure about ourselves, the more there is opportunity for people or capitalism to monetize our insecurities. You don't like your lips, go and have a plastic surgery done. You don't like your boobs, go and get a boob job done. You don't like the way, your body. Oh God, there's plenty of Weight Watchers stuff going on, And I have nothing against. In fact, I promote being healthy and vitality. That's very important, I think, for our lives. But the more we feel insecure about ourselves, the more we spend money on things that we don't actually need. We need to accept. We need a mirror where we can go in front, get naked, and just say, "I love you. I just love you the way you are." That's all we need.
And I wonder how many people who look at themselves that way and don't like the bodies or don't like themselves for whatever reason, love themselves or whatever, and project those feelings onto everyone else, thinking that everyone is going to judge their body the same way. Because I know I certainly used to.
Yeah, I agree with that. That happens too. Definitely. It's like down for me, it's like judgments and expectations.
Yeah.
What are you judge yourself the hardest over anyone. No one sees you
Absolutely.
the way you see you. So when you quit judging yourself and listening to what other people tell you, like, oh, you're beautiful. I know for me, when I was married, that was something that wasn't said. And then when I left my marriage and I was like doing the dating thing, and these dudes and women are like, my God, you are so beautiful. And I'm like, am I really? Like, I had to really think about this because I didn't know it or feel it or anything. And now it's just like, I am. And so are you. Like, it doesn't matter what you look like. I think beings are beautiful. If you're a good, intentional human being, you're beautiful.
See how nicely meditation comes in. So if you do meditation, a guided meditation alone, and especially if you're meditating with this guy I know, Mitra. So you if you see that how pure when you are there, there's no curtain. So the feelings that are coming in your mind, in your brain, and the vibrations that are coming up are all naked truth. And how beautiful it aligns. So I think how nice it's all, like Nizanka was talking about the children bit, Alan about the love, Andrea about the relationship, or the couple and the love and the beyond, and everything is naked. Everything is, everything is. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Does anybody here do earthing? Like Mitra, do you go out in the ground with your bare feet and just stand there and connect,
absolutely.
Try that naked, like when you're totally naked out in the forest and you're like touching a tree and you can just feel the wind on your skin, and just there's so many things to be grateful for. And I think we're not really grateful for a lot of things in our life. And when we take that time, especially being naked, thanking our body, like how often do you thank your feet for holding you up all these years, or your back, or your shoulders, or your arms? Like when I shower and do my little scrubs, I'm like thanking all that dead skin for going away and being here to protect me, and putting on my lotion. Then it's appreciation. It's like I've worked with my hands for the last 40 years, I think, 30 years for sure. And I thank them a lot. I haven't even broke them yet. So, but do we think about those little things? Is it something that's part of our daily process of like gratification? Everyone always says, oh, just be grateful. But what does that actually look like? Like, how grateful are you? What are you grateful for? And I am really grateful for learning meditation. To be honest with you, I wouldn't be as confident or beautiful or outgoing or as much me as I am without it. So when you get true with yourself and realize where you're misbehaving, or where you have things you want to change, and then you work on changing them, it changes the way you love yourself. You're no longer in a place of blame or shame, and that's what I think getting naked is, a lot of shame. In my 22-day program, I actually do a shame release with removal of clothing, and it really strips down the shame we feel about our body. I know I was shameful, and I'm not like, I'm just a human, but I've never really judged my body at all. It's not been something that I've done, but I watched a lot of people around me with their, oh, I have to look better for this person, and especially being in the salon and all of these men bring their women in and they get to tell them how they're doing their hair, what they're getting their nails done as, or to me, that's not like love unless you really want to look like that for that person, but are you enjoying it? And the man would walk away and the woman would be like, I really don't want my hair cut like this, but they have to do it. So we project so much stuff on other people when we're living in creating the things we want, but we don't take the person beside us, their feelings, their emotions, their thoughts or ideas or desires into play sometimes, right? We become selfish.
Yeah. I think we all human beings have a tendency to be selfish, even the ones that say, oh, I do this for them. I like to please. It's all about the other person. Why? Because when I do this and that and the other for the other person, I feel good. So you're doing it for yourself. That doesn't always go down very well, though.
It's until you get to receive something as well. Like giving is one thing, but so is receiving.
Yeah, because if you don't want to receive, really all you're doing is not letting the other person have the opportunity to give to you.
Or you could simply also be stealing their joy. If someone's trying to give you something and you're like, no, you probably just stole that person's joy.
Yeah.
I would like to add another aspect to naked communication as well, because we're talking about naked communication. I think naked communication I also interpret as having the courage to be vulnerable as well, and to really expose our souls and sort of express how exactly we are feeling and how vulnerable we are, and having that vulnerability to be in love. And I must admit, this is still something that I'm actually working on, and it's not that easy. It is a process. It's not that easy. It's easy to talk about it. There's plenty of research, and we hear about it every day. It's easy to talk about, but actually doing the job can be really, really tough. Sometimes you do it thinking, yes, I'm really good at being this vulnerable thing, and then you get to a point you're like, oh, no, it's difficult. I feel like running away. And those are the moments I think you need to catch yourself and ask the question, what is it that I'm feeling fearful of? And what's stopping me? What is the fear here? What have I been conditioned with? Because without the vulnerability, we don't have the courage, as Brené Brown says. And without the vulnerability, we're unable to trust ourselves as well, because we're not trusting what we're truly feeling and what we're truly needing. And in that case, we can't communicate what we need. So, and obviously, being honest about it as well. It's a very enjoyable process, I have to say. At the same time, oh man, is that hard sometimes.
Well, I think you brought a really, very interesting point. So let's say a relationship between a teacher and a student, where,
Yeah.
so let's say for my students to really open, it doesn't have to be literal clothes nakedness. It has to be the trust that is built where they know that they can flow and let go when they're speaking to Mitra, and the subject could be anything, and they can be vulnerable, and they know that their trust is solid, and that's communication, rather than being apprehensive, and that's communication, and that's true naked communication, which is so pure, because we are born naked, and that is the purest thing that happens. And once we can build that relationship as a teacher and student, as we are expert in our fields, people who talk, and if that conversation can happen with the vulnerability, and the person knows that their vulnerability, their truth is respected, then my God, can you imagine? Can you believe how flowering that can be? Oh, amazing.
Yeah, to be free, right? Like we don't, when we're in that place of acceptance of ourselves, when we are fully there and we're able to be vulnerable and we're able to just show our true selves no matter what, no judgment, no expectations, and full acceptance, it's a very peaceful place to be in life. Getting there is not easy though, Nisanka. I agree with you 100%.
It depends on the volume at the time, I think, because even your least favorite form of music, if the volume control is set at number 1 or 0, you can cope with it. When it gets turned up to 10 and the speaker's that big and it's just overpowering, even your favorite music can be a bit horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes just need to dial the volume back a little bit, step back, and look at it from another perspective.
Yeah, like Nisanka says, ask a question.
Yeah.
That's like one of the greatest things is when you're feeling that funkiness in life. For me, I get people to add pleasure, and pleasure to me also isn't like sex. It can be if you want it to be. Let's say you're having a tough conversation with someone and you feel those frustrating feelings come up. Well, what's something you could do instantly to feel something pleasurable to not let the frustration take over? And it's a practice again, right? Like I know some people like to rub their hands or, like rub your shoulders. Just get yourself feeling a little bit of pleasure to get yourself out of that funky place. And that also is a level of vulnerability as well, but you need to know your body. And a lot of people don't know their body. They've never looked at their genitals in a mirror. They've never stood naked in front of a mirror, and looked up themselves up and down. So, what do you do to make sure that you love all of you? And the naked part for me was that was like the icing on the cake. I really needed to accept my body for what it was.
Yeah, for me, I did two things that made a massive difference. One, you mentioned earlier, Andrea, the body shame release process where you strip clothes off as over time and stuff like that. That was very, very powerful. And not long after that, we had to on a retreat and so had to give ourselves a massage, mixing that with that Hawaiian thing that I can never pronounce properly. Is it Ho'oponopono or something? And with that, and also focusing on what you're grateful for, whether it's your feet, your hands, everything, even the things inside that you can't actually touch, like your heart, your lungs, because without them, you're dead. End of.
It's every single cell of our being. Go on, Mitch. Every single cell of our being, every single thing, every single flaw. It's about accepting it all, isn't it? Mitra, were you going to say something? I thought I'd heard something.
No, I'm just receiving, listening, and enjoying and loving. And hopefully, anybody who's listening, can tie this all together. That it's not only about one thing or the other, but all like a holistic combination of communication, taking it to the another level, without the layers,
Yeah.
vulnerability, our life, our freedom, our gratefulness, and it's the best place to be.
Absolutely. The thing with the communication is the thing with the naked communication is that it is with everything that we discuss here. Every single thing we discuss here are skills that we can learn. Just because we haven't been good at it in the past, just because we are not currently good at these things, it doesn't mean that we can't grow the skills. It's a muscle, you grow it every day, the neurons grow every day, so you practice every day. And communication is a skill. And rather than there are techniques, obviously, for good and better communication. But I think the work I do and what's worked for me so far in my observation is rather than focusing too much on the techniques and remembering the techniques, which feels quite manufactured and natural sometimes, because you're too focused on remembering the technique and nodding your head and saying and putting your arms around. If you just really flow into your body and relax yourself, like you said, Andrea, just get back into your body, and have that touch with your body rather than living in your head, and be present. Mitra, we can do a little bit of meditation before we go into tough conversations. For example, you want to have a conversation with your teenager for being defiant. Of course we have to contain them without destroying their authentic selves. So one of the ways we can do is to have a tough conversation or difficult conversation, or just a conversation, no adjectives, by the way, just a conversation. And before you go into it, you just relax yourself and regulate yourself, and get back in the body, do some meditation, and you go in there and try and be present. So when you listen without judgment. You listen to the words coming out of the mouth, as well as the body language, as well as the tone of voice, and just the whole being. We're listening. And when we practice listening, what tends to happen is, first of all, our responses get better. Instead of reacting, we tend to understand, right? And the other person, what happens is, in the other person's mind or in their field, is they feel a lot more comfortable being vulnerable and opening up, because there's that safety. So listening is one of the underrated, at the same time, the most important part of that naked communication is to be able to listen. I suggest that, if you're listening now, I suggest that you go back and listen to our conversation about silence, because listening involves a big chunk of the time being silent, silent in your mind. And, so go back and listen to it. It's a very interesting conversation. And these are skills that we can just master, practice through practice, become aware, and then we practice. You got people coming over.
See this, my bestie just flew in from 2,000 miles away.
Oh my word.
Super
Hello,
excited.
bestie.
Wave and say hi. Hi.
Oh,
She didn't come into the naked communication, so she's stressed. But yeah, I don't know. I think when it comes to communicating, bottom line is, again, being able to speak about your feelings and being, I feel this, I feel that, and being vulnerable, opening up. Just be you.
Yeah.
I think that's like, and who are you? If you don't know who you are to be, then discover your being. Because I think that's the greatest gift we can give anyone. And that's why I chose naked communication, is like, let's quit covering ourselves up. We're so amazing. We're humans and we're alive and we're on this planet and have this once in a lifetime experience. So how can we do it without shame, guilt, judgment, regret, resent, all those other shit things we're trained to have?
yep. Forget the past. It's a memory. Forget the future. It hasn't happened. The only time is now. The present.
Yeah. Be present.
It's a gift. That's why it's called the present.
So a lot of ego drops as well, because the ego needs to go.
Oh, yes.
And this all experience and practice helps. Once the ego is dropped, freedom starts to happen.
I don't think we ever fully drop our egos, but what we can do is train them to work with us and for us instead of against us, trying to protect us from something that happened 50,000 years ago that's just not going to happen.
Transform
Right.
rather than suppress or
And support. And there's so much we've been conditioned with, and especially people that, like, especially if there's sexual abuse and you're actually doing the physical naked stuff, it's really challenging to get past that. It's really hard, but it can be done.
Mm.
And acceptance is never easy. I don't think in any situation that's hard to face for yourself, it's not easy to accept the things we don't like about ourselves. But when we get to that place of acceptance, it's just like, man, nothing else even matters anymore. And you can just see other people and their flaws and love on their flaws, because you know what it feels like to judge yourself so much
Mm.
or have people
Mi-
mention things.
Mitra, thank you, Andrea. Mitra, I just have a question. Ego, probably best coming from you, explain a little bit more about what this ego is and how it actually is a barrier or nemesis to everything we do. Because even parenting, ego is a big part of negative or sort of parenting that kind of destroys the connection between the children and the parents. Ego has a significant role to play in our lives. Where does it come from? How does it evolve?
I think it has a lot to do with the conditioning, anyways. And you can
Mm.
go thousands of years ago when we had to protect ourselves, live in the caves and fight the animals, and slowly it just surpassed. And then we had to show up in the society now, and we have to prove that we are better than somebody else. Or even though we are empty inside, we have to show that we are doing really well. Or even if we are lonely, we are saying, oh, you know what? I am the best. So sometimes ego is misunderstood as well. Sometimes ignorance is also ego. You don't know, or sometimes the lack of expression can be taken as ego. So understanding ego, so if you see, it's a very simple word, but it can destroy someone's life inside. If you are full of ego, which is a false, how do you say, a false support of being inside from you, rather than being open and giving and accepting, there's a big barrier in front of us. It's almost like
It's
a
the false.
blurred line in front of our eyes where we think that, we only know. There's no harm in accepting that I don't know. There's no harm in saying, you know what, I am not the best, or I have not been able to be the best. And ego kills before we die, because the
Yeah.
false representation is happening in the brain. Because the brain is saying, you know what, I am superior, but the hell no, I am not. I am not. I am lost in this ether. So that tender acceptance of being vulnerable, being truth to ourselves, and almost melting. If you think melting, uh, it's also, especially it happens more in our us men as well, because if you've heard of the macho personality that we want to show, but I think the blurred line and the barrier and the wall, but it is also been developed because lots of people take undue advantage of us. So if you all of a sudden you in this society, and I feel in about 5-10 years from now, nobody will be in position to trust anybody, and that's
Mm.
where we might think it's ego, but it's our protection that will come in front to protect. So the trust has, it takes time. When you meet somebody for the first time, you have your guard on. What if this person is going to use me? Or how can I use this person? And in that, cosmic drama, the essence of being human and being simple, being truth is lost. And the ego starts building the layer and saying, you know what, I am better than you, and I will play the game and, not be used and use you. The beginning, the first step itself starts as ego. And I really, really would love people to get, sometimes we don't even know that there is ego. We think it's confidence, we think it's courage. But far back, you don't know how much problem it's creating.
Thank
What
you.
Wayne Dyer says, that ego stands for edge gods out. So that's inner spiritual being that was put there by God. If that's what you believe, then every time that ego steps in and takes you away from your true self, that God part of you is edged out.
Mm.
You can find it melting. at the end stages of life, when it all feels everything has gone in vain, and now it's time for me to go. What the hell did I do
The ego dies before the body.
before the body? Where you think, oh my God, all this false pretension, all this drama I did. I didn't have the guts to say sorry for my mistakes. I didn't have guts to say, you know what, forgive me. I love you, or didn't have the guts to accept love. I think if somebody can understand ego, they can understand life. So
That's a really hard one to. A lot of people, a lot of men too. I don't mean to like put it, but I know a lot of men that I've worked with just have no clue what that ego is. And when they start talking to you and they start like giving their demands or how they have to be so in control of things, and I'll be like, oh, well, that's your ego right there. And they're like, what? No, that's me getting my work done. And I'm like, yeah, but I bet you could find a way to work with the people you're working with in a way that they want to work with you, where you're not so demanding and commanding, and you'll probably get better results and your staff won't hate you as much. And then they try it and come back and say, you're right. People want to be treated kindly, right? And that's naked communication. If you treat your staff like shit and wonder why you have to be in control and tell people what to do, that's your ego. You need to let go of that and look at it from a different perspective, or even if it's with family or friends or whatever. There's a lot of people who feel the need to control, and control is all ego based.
And the beauty is the solution is there. And some of the simple things are practicing gratitude or forgiveness, and not forgiving somebody else. I'm forgiving me for torturing myself with this ego. I'm saying I'm just a little simple human being, and please somebody help me out to get out of this mirage, is a word, that I've created around me. Yeah.
And on that note, I think it's time to draw this session towards a close and just go around the room a little bit and see if there's any final comments or things you'd like to share. As we went last with Andrea last time, or first with her last time, we'll go first with Lisanka.
I haven't got anything. I was just looking at my phone to see if there's any questions from any viewers. Can't find any. Have you got any, Alan? But I've just thoroughly enjoyed this session, just like any other session that I do with you.
Beautiful. And thank you for coming on, three of you.
Thank you.
Mitra, final words of wisdom.
No, it's been just so beautiful, and I felt very grounded, and really, really nice being in the company, and thank you for this. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, Andrea.
Oh, I love all of our conversations. I get excited when I think about them. I'm like, yeah, this could be fun. I love how real we get, and we talk about all the real deep things that people want to know, but they don't want to know. Their little secret admirers we have just sneaking around. So I love that we get a little bit real with conversations and what it takes to get there. And I really appreciate each and every one of you for being in my world and doing these fun little conversations together. Thank you.
You're welcome. On that note, I will say goodbye, good night, good morning, whatever to the listeners, and I'll see you guys backstage in a moment.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.